Hello, I'm John Harrison. Today we're going to begin our program right here at the Moscow International Business Center called Moscow City. Now this has become a kind of symbol of large-scale, high-tech international design and construction. Today's 2018 and Moscow's #1 in the world in terms of construction of roads and metro. I talked about this with the director of one of Moscow's largest construction companies. And now we're going to talk to Mars Gazizulin, the general manager of Mosinj Project. The Mosinj Project holding has developed incredibly over the last few years. Now, what's the most important thing that's happened over the last year?
Today, Mosinj Project is a multifaceted, full-cycle construction company. It grew out of the namesake Engineering Institute, which was established in 1958. It has always been an important institution responsible for designing Moscow's transportation infrastructure facilities, including landmarks such as the Third Ring Road, Olympic facilities, the Ostankino Tower, etc. So when it was decided to take the existing institute, with all its traditions and experience with developing the infrastructure of such a huge metropolis as Moscow, and then reorganize it as a holding company specializing in constructing subway infrastructure facilities, this was the right decision. It was the only way to quickly take on the construction efforts and start preparing subway station sites for building engineering facilities and infrastructure.
Please tell us about the key projects that you've been involved in over the last few years.
In recent years, our most significant civil construction projects were the reconstruction of Luzhniki Stadium for the World Cup, Zaryadye Park, and Zaryadye Concert Hall. But our focus still remains on constructing Moscow metro facilities.
That's really interesting. I didn't know you constructed so many of these key projects. And how did you build them?
Those projects have very tight schedules, and both their design and construction work need to be performed in parallel. But if we take Luzhniki, for example, it's a common opinion of football fans, FIFA experts, and sports professionals that the company was able to create a state-of-the-art stadium and fit all the necessary facilities into the existing framework. This allowed preserving the stadium's historical appearance, which is well known and loved by both Muscovites and guests of the city, while at the same time building a stadium suitable for such a large-scale sporting event as the World Cup. The Zaryadye Park project is no less unique in its importance than the Luzhniki reconstruction project, because it's an architectural complex in the historical part of Moscow that was completed in slightly more than 2 years and involved parallel design and construction work. The result is a park with a large landscape that reflects the diversity of Russia's nature.
Can we talk about the transportation projects, please? I hear that Moscow's right now #1 in the world, and as far as the speed goes, the construction of metro and roads.
Mosinj Project has been constructing subway stations since 2011. At first, we were involved in designing metro stations and preparing construction sites. Today, the company's track record includes 36 subway stations and 75 kilometers of tunnels. This year was especially productive. This year, we've built and commissioned 15 metro stations, and we plan to launch another 2 by the end of the year. That's a total of 17 stations. It's an absolute record throughout the history of Russian subway construction projects that so many stations were commissioned within a single year. And in addition to that, we've also commissioned 2 railway depots, Likhobory and Solntsevo. Our largest project is the Large Circle Line. As of now, it includes 5 stations. We plan to complete it by the end of 2023. And to complete the Large Circle Line, we need to build 26 more stations. Then we'll have a circle line that will make passenger transportation in Moscow far more efficient.
Moscow is such a huge place, isn't it? I hear that major transportation terminals are being built right now. Why is it necessary and how are you building them?
We are also creating passenger interchange facilities, which will significantly increase the availability of passenger transport in Moscow. Here's an example. By the end of this year, we're going to commission the Khovryna transportation hub. Essentially, it's a large international bus station. Buses from all different directions, including the West, will arrive here. And it will include the Khovryna metro station. So passengers will be able to transfer from a bus to a subway train and go straight from there to the very center of Moscow. A large transportation hub is also planned at the Nizhegorодskaya station. It's at Ryazansky Avenue. In fact, it will be one of the largest transit hubs in all of Europe. Currently, the railway contractor is finishing the construction of the Karacharova railway station. It will connect to the Nizhegorодskaya metro station, and above ground, we will also have the Moscow Central Circle. Essentially, it will be the largest interchange hub where passengers will be able to switch over from one means of transportation to another.
The Belomorskaya station on the Zamoskvoretskaya metro line is scheduled to be opened at the end of the year. It was built with the subway line between the river terminal and Khovryna stations remaining in operation by boring new tunnels and literally cutting into the existing station facilities. By the end of the year, we plan to launch a section of the Nekrasovskaya metro line between the Nekrasova and Korsuno stations. We already had a pilot launch back in August. By the end of the year, we also plan to open the Savyolovsky station on the Large Circle line, and in the summer, the interchange hub will start operating here. Actually, we have multiple large transit hubs under construction right now. The Moscow Metro is being built in a tremendous pace. In recent years, residents in almost 30 city districts welcome new stations within walking distance of their homes. In the coming years, 24 more stations are set to open in Moscow. Now, there was a time when Moscow city limits were right here in the Garden Ring, but the city grew, and now it occupies a huge territory. 12 million people live here now. 6 years ago, the city grew again. Why and how? And now we're going to talk to Vladimir Zhitkin, the head of the Department for the Development of New Moscow Territories. Vladimir Fyodorovich, 6 years ago, the territory of Moscow suddenly grew by 1.5 times. I've never seen anything like this anywhere in the world. Now, why is this happening?
First of all, for complex construction projects that are difficult to build in older areas, for example, large logistics centers, there was a plan to move federal agencies out to new locations. But considering that the economic conditions have changed, well, perhaps now it's not the right time for that, for spending so much money on new buildings for federal agencies. But still, finding new areas for development is very important for Moscow.
Clearly new business areas have developed, and how's the world reacted to this, particularly the business community?
Для инвесторов это большой
This
плюс,
is a great
потому
opportunity
что,
for investors
есть
because we have free
свободные
areas,
территории, и их
many
много,
of them
около
about
40 000
40,000
гектаров,
hectares
на
in
которых можно
total,
строить различные объекты,
and they
жилые,
can launch
нежилые,
different construction projects there, both residential and non-residential.
финансирования
This is a great
инвесторов
opportunity
своих,
for
новых
investing in
проектов,
new
новых
construction
объектов.
projects.
Учитывая, что
And
инфраструктура
considering how
развивается
quickly the
в Москве,
infrastructure of New Moscow
очень
is being
динамично,
developed,
это
this is
является
another
еще
point in
новым
favor
фактором
of
дополнительным
investing
для
in
того,
such
чтобы
projects.
вкладывать средства в инвестиционные проекты.
For which countries are investors right now from who are working with the department?
Французская компания
A French company is planning to begin a large construction project, but at the moment, it's still at the concept stage. We've already chosen a land plot, and they have considered it and developed a concept, but they still have a long way to go. And we have this Czech company. They're currently in the active construction phase. Their project is called the Kiev Highway, 4 kilometers away from the Moscow Ring Road. They've already developed about 200,000 square meters. Now they're designing the second stage. By the way, their building currently houses 3 large IT companies, and 97% of the spaces there are already occupied by tenants. So, that Czech company continues to develop its project and is making preparations to start the construction for the second stage.
They say that New Moscow is developing really quickly. Is that really true? But is this this speed development really necessary?
When we developed the master plan, we created a model of harmonious development and an integrated infrastructure for real estate properties. And individual projects, such as infrastructure facilities, roads, utility systems, schools, kindergartens, clinics, everything is being built according to this model. For a city to be able to grow and develop sustainably, infrastructure development has to outpace real estate construction projects. In this way, capitalization is higher and people who buy new properties are receiving more value for their money.
So what is the competitive advantage of the territories of New Moscow for foreign investors?
The most crucial thing is infrastructure. Over the past 6 years, more than 170 kilometers of highways were built, the metro network expanded considerably, and more than 60 new social infrastructure facilities were opened. All that created over 100,000 new jobs through new districts. And we continue building roads. During the next 5 years, we are going to build almost 300 kilometers of roads and highways. We keep building new overhead crossings, as well as new railway tracks on the Kursk and Kiev routes. All this is improving accessibility and transport infrastructure, and makes it easier for people to get to work or any other place in the city that they want to go to. It also makes it easier to transport cargo, for example, to transport raw materials to processing facilities, or to distribute finished goods from manufacturing facilities. All this attracts investors. We're creating a fully self-reliant city, an urban environment where young people can comfortably live and work.
Well, another side of Moscow has been opened up for you today, construction side of the city. I hope it's been interesting for you. What a move. I'm John Harrison. See you again soon. Bye-bye.